I'm Elex Michaelson. Welcome to our brand new set. This week, the issue is politics behind the scenes.
It would be my recommendation you should resign. What he did is unacceptable. I've had it with this guy.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy discusses Donald Trump in the days after January 6th and secretly recorded tapes. Those tapes, part of an explosive, best-selling new book about the Trump and Biden administrations. The authors will join us in studio. Then the issue is California's crime spree dominating the race for California Attorney General. Republican candidate Eric Early is here as the issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
And welcome to a brand new era of The Issue Is. Check out our beautiful new home. We are honored to have with us the co-authors of the buzziest book in all of politics this year. Let's put it up on the screen. We are talking about This Will Not Pass. It's by Alexander Burns and Jonathan Martin of the New York Times. Jonathan and Alexander, welcome to The Issue Is for the very first time. Great to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us. It's our pleasure.
So a lot in this book has made news. Probably the thing that has made the most news, though, is your conversation with Kevin McCarthy. You obtained these tapes. Of course, the minority leader from Bakersfield, from the days after January 6th. This is what he told his leadership team privately about President Trump.
It would be my recommendation you should resign. What he did is unacceptable. I've had it with this guy.
So McCarthy says that he actually never made the call to President Trump that he should resign. But it's remarkable the difference between what is said privately and what is said publicly, Jonathan.
No, I think you've really captured it, that Kevin McCarthy in the hours and days after January 6th was facing a profound political crisis. He was desperately worried that his party was going to be basically dragged down by President Trump. And he was also concerned that there could be more political violence potentially incited by his own members in the days after January 6th. And so what you hear on that tape is Kevin McCarthy grappling with not what do we do about Donald Trump in the future and should we be the party of Trump or not. It's actually how quickly can we get Trump out of office? Can we get him either to resign or impeach him before January 20th? Because he presents that much of a threat to the country.
A few days after that, we have this picture that comes out at Mar-a-Lago. And we see Donald Trump and Kevin McCarthy together again. Looks like all is well. Right. And we get the sense there that McCarthy is back on the Trump train.
Right. It's extraordinary when you hear what Kevin McCarthy said in those days immediately after January 6th. And then you realize that that photo was taken before the end of the same month. You're not talking about, after the seasons have turned and tempers have cooled. It's a couple weeks. It's while the impeachment process is still going on. But, even at that point, Kevin McCarthy's, the photo notwithstanding, he's not doing the full embrace just yet. Because in private, he's coming back to Washington. He's saying to people somewhat apologetically, I was already down in Florida fundraising. I was invited over. It would have been rude not to go. This sort of really not very convincing stuff, but trying to kind of be all things to all people. As we're sitting here today, it's pretty obvious that he's made a more decisive choice.
That is clear. Now, one of the really fascinating things about this book is how many California players are at the center of it.
Yes.
Obviously, the Speaker of the House right now is Nancy Pelosi of San Francisco. Kevin McCarthy wants to be the next Speaker of the House from Bakersfield. Can you compare and contrast their leadership styles? Because from what you read, it seems like they're very different.
No, they are. And, Pelosi is the ultimate inside player, somebody who is sort of very canny and sort of pragmatic, even though she's identified as sort of this traditional liberal, and somebody who I think sort of demands a level of competence and seriousness in government. And I will say this, we actually interviewed Speaker Pelosi and sort of asked her about her relationship with Kevin McCarthy, trying to, prod her a little bit. And we said, don't you have something in common? You're both Californians. Don't you guys work together on state issues? And she gave us a look that if it could kill, we would not have left that office that day, because it was to say, of course I don't deal with him. Her contempt for McCarthy is so unmistakable. And I think McCarthy knows that and doesn't really try. Kevin McCarthy is somebody who's affable, who sort of likes the relationship elements of politics, but is not really driven by any core ideological agenda. And I just think Pelosi doesn't have much time or use for him at all.
And she also didn't have such great things to say privately, apparently, about Javier Becerra, who the Biden team was thinking about making the Secretary of Health and Human Services. He eventually got the job. Of course, he had been in Congress with her before, and she had a message to Team Biden.
She sure did, and she didn't get to deliver it before Biden made his choice. That she distrusted Javier Becerra going back to the first term of the Obama administration. She just thought that Becerra was on Team Becerra and couldn't be trusted to sort of play ball by Nancy Pelosi's rules. Biden, because he's under so much pressure to show diversity in his appointments and to do it fast, he sort of lunges at Becerra, not having sort of done the traditional base touching that you do, including with someone as prominent as the Speaker of the House. And after the appointment's been made, Nancy Pelosi reaches out to an advisor to Joe Biden and says, don't you think you should have spoken to me first? I might have had some interesting information to share with you. And she doesn't say I would have stopped you from doing this, but I think the subtext was pretty clear.
And she may have given them that look that you got when asking about Kevin McCarthy.
You can feel over the phone, exactly.
And another moment that was kind of juicy in terms of the California dynamics is Congresswoman Karen Bass, who now, of course, is running for mayor of Los Angeles, but at the time was being thought of as a potential vice presidential pick. Kamala Harris, who at the time was California's senator, being thought of as a VP pick. And the behind-the-scenes dynamic, and that Harris may not have been all that nice towards Bass privately, at least her team.
I think when it comes to Karen Bass, Kamala Harris and her advisors were surprised that Bass had this sudden surge in the early summer of 2020 as a potential VP contender, and they wanted to put a stop to that. And so there was some information circulating about Karen Bass that got into the public domain. And I think there was not a lot of mystery, either from Bass's camp or from Biden's camp themselves, that the Kamala Harris folks were sort of pushing that information about Karen Bass. And then you fast forward, Kamala Harris becomes vice president and is talking to Governor Newsom about the now vacant Senate seat.
Right.
And Gavin Newsom comes away from that conversation pretty sure that Kamala Harris does not want Karen Bass to replace her in the U.S. Senate.
Well, and the interesting thing is now is Kamala Harris's political consultants are working for Rick Caruso.
We noticed that too.
It's funny how that kind of thing happens.
Of course, is running against Karen Bass in the mayor's race.
Who could stop Karen Bass from yet another post here?
There you go. And let's talk a little bit about Governor Newsom, because your book actually opens up with this story about Governor Newsom and President Trump, and the fact that they had actually a decent relationship in terms of working together.
They did, and no, they did. Certainly in contrast to Governor Newsom's other Democratic colleagues, and certainly in contrast to what you might expect based on where they come at things politically. But look, Governor Newsom is very direct in talking about his relationship with Donald Trump. That, look, he was a governor of a state dealing with a once-in-a-century public health and economic catastrophe. And what is he supposed to do besides find a way to deal with the President of the United States?
Yeah, you were chuckling at the body language between Governor Newsom and Trump in that video we were just looking at. That was actually in response to a question that I asked. Could this bring California closer? And then Trump pulled Newsom in.
And, every minute of tape rolling, Trump knows that it's just torturing the heck out of Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom does not want that camera running of he and a president who's despised by most Californians.
All right, well, up next, we're going to talk about the relationship between Barack Obama and Joe Biden. It's very different behind the scenes than it's usually reported. Plus, these two super reporters look at the future for both Democrats and Republicans. Stay with us. You're watching The Issue Is. This is when you guys get to dance. We got Prince playing for you.
Vice President Biden, Vice President. That was a joke.
That was former President Barack Obama visiting current President Joe Biden in the White House for the first time. The new book, This Will Not Pass, details their complicated relationship. Here's a look at that book. We are back with co-authors Alexander Burns and Jonathan Martin. Okay, we know, especially when they were leaving, that they were advertised as this best friend, super buddy, cop thing going on, right? And what you guys point out is that it's more complicated than that, and there actually was some jealousy there.
Yeah, it's a political relationship. It was basically a sort of shotgun marriage forged in 2008 that served both parties quite well. But at the end of the Obama presidency, Joe Biden was stung because Obama and his inner circle nudged Biden away from seeking the presidency himself in 2016 and effectively anointed Hillary Clinton. Biden has never forgotten that. And so you fast forward to 2021, and Biden is now president in his own right. And he's off to a pretty good start. COVID appears to be fading. He's getting sort of major rescue bill passed to deal with the sort of impact of COVID. And Biden tells an advisor in the spring of 21, I don't think Barack would like quite at all the coverage of me as more transformative than him. And that tells you a lot about sort of Biden's perspective toward Obama. It's at best a sibling rivalry. But Obama himself's also jealous in this period and is also sort of thinking about Biden in not so flattering terms in this period. Brothers
and you quote Nancy Pelosi as saying that she thinks that Barack Obama was jealous of Joe Biden, at least for a moment. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Biden as a president, because you sort of paint the picture of the fact that he wasn't elected to necessarily be FDR, to be this transformative president. He was essentially elected to not be Donald Trump, but then he tries to be this transformative president. He loves this concept, and maybe that's when things start to go wrong for him.
Right. I mean, I think one of the major narrative threads of our book is that Biden starts out campaigning for president in 2019 on the idea that we need a president who is going to restore normalcy. We need to get rid of this sort of wild-eyed, aberrational figure in the White House, and then tinker around the edges of the way this country operates. Then COVID strikes and demolishes the economy, sends everybody into lockdown for months at a time. Then George Floyd is murdered, and it's clear to Biden, to a lot of other Democrats, that a tinkering around the edges message doesn't really equal the moment. But he never really gives up on the normalcy message either. And you see him basically trying to ride two horses at the same time as he takes office and into the first year of his administration. He never really makes a decisive choice about whether he wants to govern as a conciliator or govern as a transformational president, and as a result, he ends up not quite doing either.
Yeah, and then not really accomplishing the big transformational change like Build Back Better, because they didn't have the votes. So, one of the big questions in Washington, which you guys are obsessed with, that most people don't necessarily talk about every day, is Joe Biden going to run again or not?
Right.
And if he does not, does Joe Biden think that Kamala Harris is the best person to succeed him?
You've just voiced what is on the mind of every Democrat in Washington and perhaps every state capital around America right now, because it's unclear if Joe Biden, at age 80, which will be in November, is capable of running for a second four-year term. There are grave doubts about Kamala Harris's potential if Biden does not seek or cannot seek re-election. And I think it's pretty clear that if Biden doesn't run again, there's going to be a hotly contested primary. And frankly, if the midterms really turn sour for Democrats this fall, it's possible that Joe Biden himself could face a challenge within his own party in 2024.
Is the assumption in Washington that Donald Trump is running again?
Yeah, I think the assumption is that he is. I don't think people view it as an absolute certainty, but certainly presumed to be running until he absolutely isn't. And look, this is another issue that could keep the early stage of the 2024 campaign in a kind of suspended animation. If Joe Biden doesn't make up his mind quickly, if Donald Trump doesn't make up his mind quickly, you have these two guys, one just over 80, one pushing 80, sort of twiddling their thumbs and keeping everybody else frozen in place. It then becomes a challenge to everybody else in the Republican Party.
Isn't it crazy that back in 2007, Barack Obama wrote in Audacity of Hope, it's time to turn the page to a new generation in American leadership, and now we have turned the page back to the point that you have 80-year-olds potentially running for president.
And 2004 was supposed to be the last baby boomer election. Remember Kerry and Bush and how Vietnam was litigated? Here we are, potentially 2 decades later, you could have the same generation running again. And if you want to hear more about those two aging candidates for president, it's all in the book.
Yeah, the book is fantastic. It is the best book I've read this year on politics. Congratulations, Guy. Honored to have you here, and great to have you on our new set.
Thanks,
Jonathan Martin, Alexander Burns, congratulations. Up next, Republican Eric Early is here in studio. He's running for California Attorney General, one of the most competitive races in the states. Is he born to run? We'll find out next. This shooting in Montebello this week, another scary example of why crime is dominating the race for California Attorney General. We've already spoken to many of the candidates here on The Issue Is. Among them, Rob Bonta, Democrat, who Governor Newsom appointed to the job back in 2020. Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert, who previously was a Republican but is running as an independent. And also Nathan Hochman, an LA-based attorney who was officially endorsed by the California GOP. This week, we're joined by a candidate with a lot of support in the Republican base. Eric Early is here. Welcome to The Issue Is for the first time.
Alex, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Let's talk about that big issue of crime. It is issue number one. What specifically, tangibly, differently are you going to do if you're AG compared to Rob Bonta now?
A lot night and day from Rob Bonta. I call Rob Bonta a criminal lover. Rob Bonta is a clone of George Gascon, okay? They have created what I call in California a criminal's paradise. I will do everything possible to lock up the prison cells again. I will do everything possible to set cash bail again. I will do everything possible to repeal this crazy law, Proposition 47, that lets you steal up to $9.50 at a shot, multiple times a day, by the way, and nothing happens to you. And I will support loudly and all the time our brave men and women of law enforcement. You know, these criminals, they may be criminals, but they're not stupid. We have to change the culture in this state. We have to let them know again that crime does not pay. Because right now, thanks to Bonta, thanks to Gascon, thanks to Newsom, crime unfortunately does pay in this state.
Rob Bonta, of course, had endorsed George Gascon in his race for LA County District Attorney. So how do you actually repeal Prop 47?
Well, you know, I was the lead lawyer for the recall of Newsom, the recall movement. And so I know the guys, Orrin Heatley and Mike Netter, know how to get these signatures, because what I would do is I would oversee a referendum. If you have an existing law, a referendum, if it passes, gets rid of the existing law. The people have to vote on the referendum. I will be there every day explaining why we got to get rid of it. I'm confident when I'm Attorney General, we will get rid of it once and for all.
Both Governor Newsom and Attorney General Bonta are making the point that abortion is now the definitive issue of this race. Do you think that Roe v. Wade should be overturned?
Well, I'm pro-life, so I support the way the Supreme Court is going. But, you know, as I tell everybody, Attorney General is not a legislator. We are here to enforce the laws as long as they're constitutional. So I have to enforce the laws in the state of California, whether I like them or not. But one thing I would say to these people in our California legislature and Newsom, et cetera, with everything they've been hinting at doing, they better make sure that whatever they're talking about is constitutional. Because I'm not duty-bound to enforce an unconstitutional law.
Is there anything that they have proposed when it comes to abortion rights that you would say, I'm not going to enforce?
The decision in D.C. at the U.S. Supreme Court, it's not a decision, it's a draft. You know, careful attorneys, we don't redraft Supreme Court decisions. Frankly, I think it was a travesty that it was leaked. But first, I need to read the final ruling, see how it comes down, and then as Attorney General, I have to see a final bill that the legislature and Newsom would come out with. And when I see that, then I could properly answer your question.
Let's talk for a moment about President Trump, which is something that they would bring up over and over again if you become the guy in the top two with presumably Rob Bonta. What's your take on President Trump, and what do you say to people that think that somebody who supports President Trump can't win in a state that voted against him by 30 points?
Well, first of all, my race for Attorney General is going amazing. And what we're telling everybody to do is vote early for early. It's no secret. I support Donald Trump. I supported him when he was president. And what I could tell you, Alex, is that for the last year, I've been campaigning up and down the state. I've been speaking to thousands and thousands of people. And I know from them, and I believe there are millions of people in this state that support Donald Trump.
But you got to admit that President Trump lost the state twice by about 30 points.
Listen, I know that there are millions of people in the state support Trump. Even if you you know, if you go by the voting numbers, he got at least 6 million votes in this state during the last election.
All right. On this show, we like to have a little bit of fun in getting to know you. So
Okay.
we do a game called Personal Issues. This is where we put 30 seconds up on the clock and we do some rapid fire questions. All right, you ready? Ready to have some fun? Here we go. What is your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show right now. My favorite TV show is Yellowstone.
Best thing about being a Californian?
This is paradise.
What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal. Well, I like steak. Oh, I love pasta. So I think I'd go with pasta. Great pasta dish. I don't think you can beat it.
Who's your favorite Democrat?
My favorite Democrat? Let me think about that one.
Okay. What is your favorite song?
Well, you heard we've told you it's by Ian Hunter. It's called "When I'm President," and I love it not because I have aspirations to be president. It's melodically amazing. The words are amazing, and Ian Hunter is just a brilliant musician.
We're going to end with your song of "When I'm President." Your chance to move on this show. Eric Early, thanks so much for being on.
Let me tell you the Democrat I like these days.
Yeah.
Joe Manchin.
Okay.
Frankly, I think in large part he saved this country.
Interesting. All right, we go out with "When I'm President." Eric Early, thanks so much.
Thank you.
In the crib, ma. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Snoop Dogg is one of the best known and most popular figures in the history of rap. This week, I was out shooting a story with LA mayoral candidate Rick Caruso when he surprised me and said that Snoop wanted to zoom in. Hi, Snoop. I'm Elex from Fox 11. Nice to see you.
What's up, Alex? How you doing?
Are you officially endorsing Rick Caruso, and if so, why?
Mayor's got to be about, you can't be about talking about it, you got to be about it.
While Magic Johnson is backing the Karen Bass campaign, voting is occurring now in the mayor's race and all of the California races. The last day to return your ballot is on June 7th. So we end this week with the Above Los Angeles account taking us above Los Angeles City Hall. I'm Elex Michaelson. See you next week for more of The Issue Is.